This sucks. Definitely a nauseating level of freaking cow browse. We've had some pretty bad cow browse before. Rarely full-on killing trees, but this will probably kill some. This is all within like 18 hours, maybe even mostly last night. Gesell's grafting wax. The only thing I'm going on here is that I've definitely saved apples that are fully grafted, fully girdled before. So, if you read up on it, after it's your 25% of the circumference girdled, bark removed, it's not supposed to survive, or very low odds, and 50%, basically, most sources say the tree's dead, like full on, not dead, but dead below that point, full on bridge graft terrain. And I can tell you that years ago, at least 5 or 6 years ago, I had a so it's still live, so it seems like it's fully good now. Fully girdled by voles apple. And I put Gesell's grafting wax over the whole thing, and I'm not even sure if I pruned it heavily. I should have. I don't know if I did. I'm pruning these heavy. And 5, 6 years later, the tree's fine. It definitely had a rough year. And you can't even tell that it was girdled now. If you look back at it, I remember which tree it is because it's the one closest to this one part of my barn. So I know exactly what tree it is. And the only reason I know is because I remember it. If you look at the bark, you look at the bole, the trunk at the base, is right at the base where voles tend to do their work. Worst spot. It's you can't see any evidence of damage. So I'm just going on that. I've never heard, people really say to use it for that. It's for grafting. But I can tell you it worked. So without any other information, because everyone else is more pessimistic about it if you look online, I've asked a few colleagues. I'm waiting to hear back from them, but I'm just going for this because it did work for me so well. Love to hear from you guys if anyone has any magic sauce. But man, the cows, it's just, I knew they could get in here, and they weren't. I mean, I wasn't seeing them go in here. And then I was getting lazy, and I was like going to give them another hay bale, and I knew they were pretty hungry. Classic. I mean, this is my fault. But I must say, when I saw it, I was like, first thought was like, just go get the rifle now. You have too many cows. But that's obviously not going to solve my problem right now. And it's not the time of year to harvest any cows here. So I'm going to delay. It will make it easier when I do harvest one or two, the next one or two, but they're not making it easy. They're not making it harder for me to do, but that's not the answer to this. And I'm trying to work pretty quick because I'm going to lose the light here. And once we lose the light, this is going to be cold and really difficult because the wax is going to cool right off. I mean, I'm not going to finish tonight, but it was one of the first times it was the only time I've ever had damage where I'm like, after that, I just walked away. I'm like, I can't even deal with that right now. And then after about cooling off for about half an hour inside, Googling around, making some tea, I'm like, I got to go deal. And I can't help the trees. I remembered the tree that I saved some years ago. And so I'm going to prune these back really heavy too. That, I think, would only help. But would love to hear if you guys have any thoughts. Silvopasture, man, it's got its advantages, and there's very obvious reasons why almost no one does it. even with established trees, you know, in the winter around here, the cows will kill full-size black locust, red maple, whatever. They'll just strip them. Now, I don't mind if they wreck a few of the trees here. You know, I've got a lot of oaks, I've planted extra in the field, but since I'm selling them for very high dollar, the larger trees, and getting great success, even 10-year-old nut trees bear root. And B, there's some really nice grafted apples now that they went after, and that's what these are. And I can't see all these go, if I can help it. And I hope you guys make it. I know you're gonna have a rough year at best, but anyway, pretty, you know, this is like the worst thing you can see happen to your trees in a lot of ways, but it's a beautiful day. This week coming up is supposed to be just gorgeous in spring. Finally the wind might stop. It's just been blowing and blowing and blowing. Cold wind, like single-digit wind chills till, you know, straight through to Easter. Even though it was a mild winter, I'm kind of over the super cold wind. But I can't complain. It's been a great winter, mild. And then a lot of snow, even after it barely was winter for a while. All right, well, I'm not too worried about voles this time of year. I hope that's not putting a foot in my mouth, but that thing was hit hard. They love apples. I'm just triaging. I'm going after the worst of them. There's some on that row. See, one interesting thing is this is so thick, and the rows below, that they don't really go after them. They're protected enough. That's an advantage. If you're doing silvopasture, plant a freaking thicket and let it stay thick. Don't do what you would with your horticultural ideas. Throw away the horticulture. You know, it's different. It's a very different type of horticulture. So don't prune up. Don't do all the things that an orchardist would do. Well, maybe not none of them, but don't prune them up. Really solid horizontal branching. The spikier, the knobbier the trunk is, the better. And the more branches on the trunk, the better. They go for the smoothest areas. It's just what you would do if you were gonna nibble on a tree trunk. You wouldn't go where all the knots and all the branches come out. You would just pick the smoothest stretches to get your underbite on there and start pulling on it. And that's what these damn cows did. That's what they do. And this is, you know, this is the time of year. They're hungriest. They're running low on the good hay, and it's just, you can expect it, you know. And I kind of was, but I was kind of just being lazy. And I mean, it's classic kind of sequence of events. I mean, I'm lucky I planted a lot of extra here. Not just luck, but a lot of hard work. We planted thousands of trees, and so if I lose some, but some of these are some of my best trees in here that I really have been taking care of. They're grafted, and some of them are multiple grafts. I don't want to lose them. But you know, see, because I've been tending them to the most, they're also opened up and they're pruned well, and that makes them attractive, accessible, and attractive to the cows. So in some ways, if I had fully ignored this system, well, if I had fully ignored them, these trees wouldn't be here. I had to plant them, and I had to kind of get them up. I had to give them some fertility, some mulch a little bit. I mean, this is extensive, the system, though. We didn't just mulch all these like we do in Zone 1. But if I had basically done that and not kept up on pruning them, maybe the cows wouldn't have even been able to get at them and done this much damage. It would have been like those other rows. It is a little more also closer to where they've been here, so that's part of it. But if this was more of a thicket, there'd be less damage. There might barely be any. So I am blasting through this whole hunk of Gas Shells wax, which I haven't gone through. I mean, I've had this probably for 6 years. When you're just grafting, you don't use that much. I'm using thousands of grafts worth, and it's like 20 bucks, but a little less actually. I just bought some more. If it saves even just one tree, it's worth it. I mean, I've sold apples like this, like not this one, but some of those bigger ones for, you know, those are $400 to $500 apples easily. Some people sell them in Vermont for even more. Nick at Shelburne Orchards is selling apples this size, some of them for $1,000. So we'll see. I mean, this might be expecting a miracle. It's pretty bad. But honestly, we had a few, not nearly as bad as this, but we had a couple that were really bad, not as many as this, last year, and none of the trees died. And I didn't even tend to them, really. This is bad. I mean, it's completely girdled here, and then it stops. There's a little strip of bark, but then that ends, so it's fully girdled. Oh, I'm sorry, tree. That is a rough go. That is definitely, you are completely stripped. Just super worked. I don't even know how you're gonna get your moisture up. Freaking cows. I mean, I'm gonna have like years and years worth of compost. I want to say a lifetime, but not a lifetime. And it's gonna jam the system in a lot of ways. Just accelerate it, especially zone 1, and the field, but definitely at the cost of some trees. Didn't have to be at the cost of trees. If I was really on it, I wouldn't have lost any trees from these cows. And I have been fencing them off with electric wire, by the way. I think I made that video a while ago about like cheap, easy tree, cow deterrent is just putting manure on it. And that works, but you have to stay on it like more than is practical with hundreds and thousands of trees. So I have been just putting strands, poly strands around them. Yeah, but then we had super deep snow. That's also what preceded this. If we didn't have the huge late snows, they wouldn't be in here. They wouldn't have gotten in here. But that pulled this one strand down, and the strand was under the snow for a while, so I turned the fence off at one point because it was just grounding out. And finally the snow melted back. Anyway, I hope you guys are good. A little bit of light left. I'm gonna keep moving.